The dust still hung in the air like a dirty cloud. Ji-woo pulled her mask tighter over her face and stepped over a broken wall. Her boots crunched on debris. Behind her, the rest of the engineering team followed carefully through the ruins. "Watch your step," Hyun called out. He was the squad leader, always careful, always thinking about his people. This whole section could collapse. Ji-woo nodded, but kept moving forward. They had a job to do. The coalition needed this area cleared and checked before they could bring in the heavy equipment. Another day, another ruined city, another planet torn apart by war. She hated this part. Not the danger. She could handle danger. She hated seeing what used to be homes. Children's toys scattered in the rubble. Photographs half buried in dust. Lives destroyed in seconds. "Ji-woo, over here," Dae said. He was the youngest on the team, barely 22. He pointed at a partially standing building. "We need to mark that one as unstable." She pulled out her scanner and aimed it at the structure. The readings flickered across the small screen. Then she heard it. A small sound. Almost like a whimper. Ji-woo froze. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Dae asked. She held up her hand for silence. There it was again. Soft crying. Coming from somewhere in the rubble to her left. "There's someone alive in there," she said. Hyun walked over quickly. "Are you sure? The scanners didn't pick up any life signs in this sector. I heard something." The sound came again. Definitely crying. Definitely small. Ji-woo didn't wait for permission. She moved toward the collapsed building, climbing carefully over broken concrete and twisted metal. The crying got louder. It sounded like a child. "Ji-woo, wait," Hyun called. "We should call it in first," but she was already digging through the debris. Her gloved hands pulled away chunks of wall and broken furniture. The crying was close now. Very close. Then she saw it. A small face, covered in dust, with large eyes and small pointed ears. A Kiresh cub. The locals. They looked almost human, except for the feline ears and slightly different facial structure. This one was tiny. Maybe 4 or 5 years old. Hey, it's okay," Ji-woo said softly. She made her voice gentle. "I'm here to help." The cub stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. Tears had made clean tracks through the dust on its face. Ji-woo looked at the situation. The cub was trapped under a large piece of ceiling. Not crushed, thank God, but pinned. She couldn't just pull the child out. The whole pile might collapse. "Hyun, I need help here. And bring the lift bags." Her squad leader appeared beside her and saw the situation. His expression changed. "Oh hell," he muttered. Then louder. "Dae, Sun-hee, get over here. Bring the emergency equipment." For the next 2 hours, Ji-woo worked carefully. She placed lift bags under the debris, slowly inflating them to raise the concrete. Every movement had to be precise. One wrong move, and the whole thing could crush the cub. The little one watched her the entire time. Not making a sound now. Just watching. With those big eyes. "Almost there, sweetie," Ji-woo whispered. "Almost there." Finally, the gap was big enough. Ji-woo reached in and carefully pulled the cub free. The child was light, too light. Probably hadn't eaten in days. As soon as Ji-woo lifted her out, the cub wrapped small arms around Ji-woo's neck and held on tight. "It's okay. You're safe now," Ji-woo said, patting the small back gently. Sun-hee, their medic, moved in to check the cub for injuries. "Looks like mostly bruises and dehydration. Nothing broken." Remarkably lucky, the cub wouldn't let go of Ji-woo. When Sun-hee tried to examine her properly, the little one just clung tighter and whimpered. All right, Sun-hee said. "Let me just scan her while you hold her." By the time they got back to base camp, news of the rescue had already spread. Several soldiers came over to look at the small survivor. The human soldiers smiled and made soft sounds. The alien coalition members just stared with curiosity. Commander Velthar approached. He was tall and insect-like, with multiple limbs and eyes that saw everything. His species didn't show emotions the way humans did. "Engineer Jiwoo," he said. His voice came through a translator that made it sound mechanical. "You found a survivor." "Yes, sir." "The child must be processed through refugee collection. I will send notice to the proper channels." Jiwoo looked down at the small face pressed against her shoulder. The cub was finally falling asleep. Exhausted. "What happens in refugee collection, sir?" 1. They are documented and placed in temporary holding until their government can retrieve them. Holding? Jiwoo felt her jaw tighten. "You mean a camp?" "It is standard procedure. She's traumatized. She's scared. She needs care. Not a processing center." Velthar's head tilted. "Your emotional response is noted. However, procedure must be followed." Hyun put a hand on Jiwoo's shoulder. "A warning. Don't push it." But Jiwoo couldn't help herself. "Sir, human protocol allows for temporary custody of vulnerable civilians in some circumstances. For cultural or medical reasons, I'm requesting permission to keep her with our unit until a better solution is found." Velthar was silent for a moment. "This is highly irregular." "Yes, sir. But my people have experience with this. We know how to care for traumatized children. Please. If..." Another pause. Then, "Very well. Consider this an anthropological study. The coalition is still learning about human customs. You may keep the youngling for observation purposes, but you are responsible for its welfare." "Thank you, sir." As Velthar walked away, Day came over with a ration pack and a bottle of water. "I thought she might be hungry." "Day." Jiwoo sat down on a supply crate, still holding the cub. She managed to wake her gently and offered water. The little one drank greedily. "Easy, easy." "Not too fast," Jiwoo said. "What are you going to call her?" Day asked. Jiwoo looked at the small face. Despite everything, despite the trauma and fear, there was something delicate and beautiful about this child. "Nabi," she said. "It means butterfly. In my language." The cub finished drinking and immediately grabbed onto Jiwoo's equipment belt. Her small fingers wrapped around the fabric and held tight. She pressed her face against Jiwoo's side and closed her eyes. Hyun watched this and shook his head with a slight smile. "Looks like you've got yourself a shadow." Over the next few days, that name stuck. Nabi wouldn't leave Jiwoo's side. When Jiwoo worked, Nabi clung to her belt. When Jiwoo ate, Nabi sat, pressed against her. When Jiwoo slept, Nabi curled up next to her. "Your shadow's following again," Taeyang called out one morning. He was their security officer, big and gruff. Jiwoo looked down. Sure enough, Nabi was right there, holding onto her belt with both hands, walking in step with her. The human soldiers started calling her the Shadow and chuckling whenever they saw the pair. Even some of the friendlier alien soldiers seemed amused by the sight. But Jiwoo noticed the other aliens watching too. The ones like Velthar. They didn't laugh. They watched with something that might have been confusion. Or, maybe, curiosity. Like they were seeing something they didn't quite understand. Jiwoo didn't care. She just kept Nabi close, kept her safe, and tried not to think about what would happen when the Kiresh government came for their lost children. For now, the small hand clutching her belt was enough. 3 weeks passed. Nabi still followed Jiwoo everywhere. The small cub had become part of the daily routine at the forward base. When Jiwoo checked equipment, Nabi was there. When Jiwoo went to briefings, Nabi sat quietly beside her, always holding onto that belt. "Your shadow's getting braver," Sunhee said one morning. She was preparing her medical supplies for the day. She smiled at me yesterday. After, Jiwoo looked down at Nabi, who was eating a ration bar carefully. "She's healing. Slowly. That's because of you," Sunny said. "You're good with her." Jiwoo had learned a lot in 3 weeks. She learned that Nabi liked sweet things, She learned that loud noises made Nabi freeze and shake. She learned that Nabi had nightmares almost every night, waking up crying and reaching for Jiwoo. She also learned that caring for a traumatized child was exhausting, but worth it. Every small smile, every moment of laughter, every night that Nabi slept a little longer without nightmares, all worth it. The human soldiers had completely adopted Nabi as their mascot. Day brought her snacks. Taeyang made her a small stuffed toy from spare fabric. Even Hyun, who was usually all business, could be caught playing simple hand games with her during breaks. The alien soldiers were different. Most watched from a distance. Some seemed confused. A few seemed almost uncomfortable. One afternoon, Jiwoo was showing Nabi how to sort equipment parts. It was simple work, but it kept the cub occupied and feeling useful. A reptilian soldier named Rixal approached. "Engineer Jiwoo," he said. His translator made his voice sound hissing and soft. "May I ask a question?" "Of course." "The youngling. You care for it, as if it were your own offspring." "Yes, I do. But it is not your species. Not your blood." "Why do you do this?" Jiwoo thought about how to explain. "Because she needs someone. Because she's scared and alone. Because it's the right thing to do." Rixal tilted his head. "On my world, we do not do this anymore. Young are raised in facilities. By professionals. It is more efficient. Do you think that's better?" Jiwoo asked carefully. "I do not know. We are told it is better. But watching you with the youngling, I remember stories from my grandfather. Old stories. Before we changed our ways." He paused. "We used to do this too. Long ago." Before Jiwoo could respond, alarms blared across the base. "Incoming attack! Everyone to defensive positions!" Hyun's voice boomed over the speakers. Jiwoo grabbed Nabi and ran toward the shelter. The cub clutched her belt tightly. Her small body pressed against Jiwoo's side. Around them, soldiers rushed to their stations. "Stay with me," Jiwoo told Nabi firmly. "Stay close." They were supposed to get to the underground shelter. That was protocol. But halfway there, Jiwoo saw a supply convoy returning to base. They were exposed. Sitting targets. "They need cover," she shouted to Hyun, who was nearby. "Get to the shelter first," he ordered. But Jiwoo was already moving. She grabbed a communication device and started directing the convoy drivers to safe positions. Nabi clung to her belt with both hands, silent but shaking. Explosions rocked the ground. The insurgents were using mortars. Jiwoo kept talking, kept directing, kept the convoy moving to safety. She didn't notice the mortar round coming straight for their position. Taeyang did. The big security officer slammed into Jiwoo from the side, knocking her and Nabi into a ditch. He covered them with his body as the mortar exploded where they had been standing. Shrapnel flew everywhere. Taeyang grunted in pain. "Taeyang!" Jiwoo shouted. "I'm fine," he growled. But blood was spreading across his back. "Get the kid to safety. Now!" Jiwoo ran with Nabi pressed against her. Behind them, she could hear more soldiers moving in, returning fire. The attack lasted 15 minutes, but felt like hours. When the all-clear finally sounded, Jiwoo found Sun Hee working on Taeyang in the medical tent. The security officer had taken shrapnel in his shoulder and back. Nothing fatal, but painful. "You stupid, brave idiot," Jiwoo told him, her voice shaking. Yeah, Taeyang muttered. "Couldn't let anything happen to the shadow. She's our lucky charm." Nabi, still clutching Jiwoo's belt, reached out and touched Taeyang's hand gently. The big man's expression softened. "I'm okay, little one," he said. "Takes more than that to stop me." That night, Jiwoo held Nabi while the cub cried. The attack had brought back all the fear. All the memories of the bombardment that killed her parents. "Shh, it's okay. You're safe. I've got you," Jiwoo whispered over and over. Eventually, Nabi's crying turned to hiccups, then to quiet breathing. But she didn't let go of the belt. Even in sleep, her fingers stayed wrapped around the fabric. Ji-woo looked up and saw Commander Velthar standing in the doorway of her quarters. How long had he been there? "Commander," she said quietly, trying not to wake Nabi. "I observed today's attack," Velthar said. "Your response was inefficient. You should have reached shelter immediately. I was helping the convoy, while carrying a non-combatant. You put yourself and the youngling at unnecessary risk." Ji-woo felt anger rise in her chest. That convoy had 12 soldiers. I couldn't just... You prioritized them over your own safety, over the youngling's safety. This is irrational. "No," Ji-woo said firmly. "It's human. We don't abandon people. Even when it's dangerous. Even when it doesn't make tactical sense." Velthar was quiet for a long moment. Soldier Tae-young was also irrational. He could have been killed protecting you. He was protecting both of us. And I'll be grateful. Forever. "This is what I do not understand," Velthar said slowly. "This willingness to risk everything for another. To form these deep attachments. To care beyond logic. My people evolved past such things. We are better for it." "Are you?" Ji-woo asked. "Are you really better?" Velthar didn't answer. He just turned and left. The next morning, Rixal approached Ji-woo again. He looked nervous. "I have been thinking," he said. "About what you said. About caring for the youngling because it is right. Yes? On my world, we do not have this anymore. No families. No parents raising their own young. We are born. We are raised in facilities. We are trained. We serve. It is efficient. But," Ji-woo prompted, "but our numbers are declining. Fewer younglings are born each cycle. And those who are born, many do not thrive. Many are unhappy. We do not speak of it, but it is true." He looked at Nabi, who was playing with her stuffed toy nearby. "Watching you. I wonder if we lost something important. Something necessary." "Maybe you did," Ji-woo said gently. "How do you do it? How do you care so much? Is it not exhausting? Is it not painful?" "Yes, it's both. But it's also the most important thing I've ever done." Rixal watched Nabi for a long time. "She calls you Uma now." I looked up the translation. "It means mother." Ji-woo felt her throat tighten. "Yes, she started that a few days ago. And you will keep her? When this war ends? I hope so. But that's not up to me. Then who decides? The Kiresh government. Coalition protocol. People who never met her and don't know what she needs." Rixal's expression changed. Even through his alien features, Ji-woo could see concern. "I see. That is unfortunate." He walked away slowly, leaving Ji-woo with a cold feeling in her stomach. 2 days later, the official notice arrived. The Kiresh government wanted all their cubs returned. No exceptions. Facilities had been prepared. Collection would begin in 1 week. Ji-woo read the message 3 times, feeling like the ground was falling away beneath her. Nabi looked up at her, still clutching that belt, and asked in her small voice, "What's wrong, Uma?" Ji-woo couldn't answer. She just held the small body close and tried not to let Nabi see her cry. Ji-woo stood in Admiral Youngsu's office feeling like she was fighting a losing battle. The Admiral was human, Korean like her, but that didn't mean he could help. "Please, sir, there has to be another way," she said. Youngsu looked tired. He was older, maybe 50, with gray starting at his temples. "I understand what you're feeling. I do. But the Kiresh government has made their position clear. All cubs are to be returned to their homeworld for proper care." "Proper care?" Ji-woo's voice rose. "Sir, she's finally starting to heal. She sleeps through the night now. She's learning to laugh again. If you send her to some facility..." "It's not a prison, Ji-woo. It's a child development center." The Kiresh have been raising children this way for generations. And that makes it right? Young Su stood and walked to his window. Outside, the base was busy with daily operations. We're new to the coalition. Very new. Humanity has been part of this alliance for less than 5 years. We can't afford to create diplomatic incidents over cultural differences. Cultural differences? Jiwoo felt her hands shaking. We're talking about a child. A traumatized, frightened child who finally feels safe. I know. Young Su turned to face her. But my hands are tied. If we refuse to comply, it damages Earth's standing. It could affect trade agreements, military support, everything our people need. So, we sacrifice one child for politics? We follow the law, even when we don't like it. Jiwoo left the office feeling hollow inside. She found Bo Ra in the research section. Bo Ra was a xenoanthropologist, someone who studied alien cultures. If anyone could explain this, she could. Jiwoo, Bo Ra said, looking up from her computer. I heard about the notice. I'm sorry. Help me understand. Why do the Kiresh do this? Why don't they raise their own children? Bo Ra sighed and pulled up files on her screen. It's not just the Kiresh. Most coalition species do something similar. It started centuries ago, with different species following different paths. But the result was the same. What result? They decided that emotions were inefficient. That personal bonds, especially family bonds, were obstacles to progress. Bo Ra showed Jiwoo images and data. They engineered their societies to remove these elements. Children are raised in institutions. Romantic partnerships are logical arrangements, not emotional ones. Everything is optimized for efficiency. Jiwoo felt sick. That's horrible. They would say it's evolution. They would say humans are primitive for clinging to such things. Bo Ra pulled up more data. And in some ways, it worked. Their civilizations expanded rapidly. They conquered disease, poverty, conflict. They became powerful. But look at these numbers. Bo Ra highlighted several charts. Birth rates across coalition species have been dropping for decades. Mental illness is rising. Suicide rates are the highest in recorded history. Their civilizations are efficient, but dying. And no one talks about it? Some do. Quietly. But it's considered regressive to suggest going back to old ways, admitting that maybe they lost something important. Bo Ra looked at Jiwoo. Seriously. That's why they're watching you and Nabi so closely. You're showing them something they gave up, and it scares them. 3 days before the collection date, a Kiresh official arrived. His name was Kirneth. He was tall, elegant, with the characteristic feline features of his species. But his eyes were cold. Jiwoo stood with Nabi clutching her belt as Kirneth examined the list of cubs to be collected. Ah, yes. Subject 743. Female. Approximately 4.5 years old, he said, looking at Nabi like she was cargo. Her name is Nabi, Jiwoo said firmly. Designation 743 will be processed at Center 12. She will receive education, nutrition, and socialization according to standard protocols. She needs more than protocols. She needs to be with her own kind, receiving care from qualified professionals. Kirneth interrupted. Not living in a military camp with aliens. I'm not an alien to her. I'm her Ummah. Kirneth's expression didn't change. Your attachment is a biochemical illusion, a hormonal response your species has not yet evolved past. The youngling will adjust to proper care within weeks. She has a name? Jiwoo repeated, anger building in her voice. She has feelings. She has nightmares about watching her parents die. She needs love, not just nutrition and education. Love, Kirneth said the word like it tasted bad. An irrational emotion that clouds judgment and creates bias. We evolved beyond such handicaps 300 years ago. Our society is stronger for it. Is it? Ji-woo stepped closer. That is quite enough, engineer, Kirneth said coldly. You will surrender the youngling in 3 days. This discussion is over. He turned and left. Nabi looked up at Ji-woo with wide, frightened eyes. What did he say? Ji-woo knelt down and hugged Nabi close. Don't worry about it, Butterfly. Don't worry. But Ji-woo was terrified. That night, she talked with Hyun, Dae, Sun-hee, and Tae-yang. They gathered in her quarters after lights out. There has to be something we can do, Dae said. Like what? Sun-hee asked. We're soldiers. We follow orders. Even orders that are wrong, Tae-yang growled. Especially orders that are wrong. Hyun said quietly. That's what makes it hard. Ji-woo held Nabi, who was sleeping against her shoulder. I can't let her go. I can't send her to that place. You didn't see how that official looked at her. Like she was a number. Like she was nothing. So what do you want to do? Hyun asked. I don't know. Something. Anything. Ji-woo, Hyun said seriously. If you do something stupid, we all go down with you. You know that. Right? I know. Good. Because we're not letting you do anything stupid alone. The collection day arrived too fast. Ji-woo dressed Nabi carefully that morning. The cub was quiet, sensing something was wrong. Where are we going? Nabi asked. I don't know yet, Butterfly. But stay close to me. Hold on to my belt. Like always. They walked to the processing area together. Nabi's small hand gripped the belt tightly. Other Kiresh cubs were being brought in. Most of them crying. All of them frightened. Kirneth was there with several assistants. They were setting up stations, checking lists, organizing the collection like it was a supply distribution. Ji-woo saw Young-soo standing to the side, watching. His expression was pained, but determined. Engineer Ji-woo, Kirneth said. Please bring subject 743 to Station 4 for processing. No, Ji-woo said. The word hung in the air. Excuse me? Kirneth asked. No, I'm not giving her to you. Young-soo stepped forward. Engineer. That's an order. Then court-martial me, sir. I'm not doing this. Nabi started crying. She wrapped both arms around Ji-woo's waist and buried her face against her. This is completely unacceptable, Kirneth said. Admiral, control your soldier. Suddenly, Hyun stepped up next to Ji-woo. She's not doing it alone. We're with her. Dae moved to her other side. Yeah. We're with her. Sun-hee and Tae-yang joined them. Then, more human soldiers. One by one, they stood with Ji-woo, forming a wall between her and Kirneth. What is this? Kirneth demanded. This is mutiny. Young-soo looked at his soldiers. Looked at Ji-woo, holding Nabi. Looked at the crying cubs, being processed, like packages. For a long moment, everything was silent. Then Young-soo said, Engineer Ji-woo, you are in direct violation of orders. Yes, sir. I know, sir. You will face disciplinary action. I understand, sir. However, Young-soo continued, his voice harder now. I cannot process disciplinary action while we are under attack, alert protocols. Everyone looked at him confused. We are under attack, alert protocols, are we not? Young-soo said louder. Staring at Hyun, Hyun caught on quickly. Yes. Sir. Attack alert. All personnel to defensive positions. Yoon. Alarms started blaring. Young-soo looked at Kirneth. I'm sorry, but we must postpone this collection. Security protocols. You understand. This is absurd. Kirneth shouted over the alarms. There is no attack. Nevertheless, coalition security regulations are clear. All non-essential personnel must evacuate. Young-soo gestured to his guards. Please escort our guests to the safe zone. As Kirneth was being led away, still protesting, Young-soo turned to Ji-woo. You have bought yourself some time. Maybe a week. Use it well. He leaned closer. And figure out a real solution. Because I can't keep creating fake emergencies forever. Ji-woo felt tears on her face. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, this isn't over. Ji-woo knelt down and held Nabi, who was still crying and shaking. It's okay, Butterfly. It's okay. I've got you. And Nabi, like always, held tight to her belt and wouldn't let go. Rixal came to Ji-woo's quarters late at night. His movements were nervous, constantly checking to make sure no one saw him. We need to talk, he said quietly. Somewhere private. Ji-woo left Nabi sleeping with Sunhee watching over her. She followed Rixal to one of the empty storage rooms. Inside, 3 other alien soldiers were waiting. Ji-woo recognized one of them from the flight deck. Another worked in communications. What is this? Ji-woo asked. A meeting, Rixal said. Of those who are starting to question. Question what? Everything. One of the others spoke. She was tall and blue-skinned, from a species Ji-woo didn't know well. We have been watching you with the youngling. It has made us think about our own worlds, our own ways. Rixal pulled out a datapad. I have accessed restricted files, information our governments do not want widely shared. He showed Ji-woo graphs and numbers. Look at this. Birth rates across all coalition species, down 40% in the last century. Look at this, the blue-skinned female said, showing another chart. Mental health incidents, depression, anxiety, suicide, all climbing steadily for decades. And this, the third alien added, social cohesion measurements. People feeling disconnected, purposeless, empty. The numbers are terrible. Ji-woo studied the data. This is what Bo-Ra was talking about. Your civilizations are dying. Slowly, Rixal agreed. But yes. And our leaders know. They know, but they do nothing. They call it acceptable losses. The price of progress. But you don't accept it, Ji-woo said. Not anymore. Not after watching you. After seeing what you have with Nabi. Rixal looked at her seriously. You showed us what we lost. What we gave up in the name of efficiency. So what do you want to do? We do not know yet. But we are not alone. There are others across the coalition who are questioning. Young people mostly. Those who feel something is missing from their lives but cannot name it. That's good, Ji-woo said. But it doesn't help me save Nabi. I have maybe a week before they come for her again. Perhaps we can help with that too, the blue female said. Those of us in communications and data management. We can make things difficult for the collection process. Slow it down. Create delays. How long can you delay it? A few weeks. Maybe a month if we are clever. And then what? Ji-woo asked. Eventually they'll come. Eventually I'll run out of time. Then we find another way, Rixal said firmly. But we find it together. Over the next week, Ji-woo learned just how serious the problem was. Bo-Ra showed her more research. The Kiresh cubs that had already been collected and sent to the facilities were not doing well. Most had stopped eating properly. Some had stopped talking. A few had become violent. The facility directors are calling it adjustment difficulty, Bo-Ra said. But I got access to the medical reports. These children are traumatized, being separated from their caregivers so suddenly, being put in institutional settings. It's destroying them. What about Nabi specifically? Do you have information on the ones still here? Bo-Ra pulled up more files. Kirneth submitted reports on all the cubs he was supposed to collect. He noted that the ones staying with human soldiers showed much better psychological health, but he dismissed it as temporary. Said proper institutional care would be better in the long term. He's wrong. I know. You know. But proving it to the coalition? That's harder. What if we had proof? Real proof that institutional care is hurting these children. It would help, but we'd need access to the facility data. Real medical records, not the sanitized reports they release. Ji-woo thought about her new allies. Maybe I know people who can help with that. 2 days later, Sunhee came to Ji-woo with disturbing news. I managed to access some of the medical files from the Kiresh facilities, the cubs that were collected first, about 3 months ago. She showed Jiwoo her tablet. 73% are showing severe trauma responses. Failure to thrive, they call it. Not eating, not sleeping, not developing properly. 73%? Jiwoo felt sick. The facility doctors are treating it with medications, sedatives mostly, to keep the children calm. They're drugging them. Yes. And it's not working. Several cubs have died. The reports list it as medical complications. But I read between the lines. These children are dying from broken hearts. Jiwoo held Nabi closer that night. The cub was sleeping peacefully, her small hand still gripping Jiwoo's belt even in sleep. How could anyone think a cold facility was better than this? Nabi mumbled, half awake. I'm here, Butterfly. Don't leave me. Never. I promise. Jiwoo knew she was making a promise she might not be able to keep, but she meant it anyway. The next morning, Young-soo called her to his office. I can't protect you much longer, he said without greeting. Kirnath has filed formal complaints. The Coalition Command is putting pressure on me. They want this resolved. Ah? I know, sir. Do you have a plan? Any plan? I'm working on something. I need more time. Young-soo leaned back in his chair. Jiwoo, I admire what you're trying to do. I really do. But sometimes we have to accept that we can't save everyone. I can't accept that. Not for her. Even if it costs your career? Your freedom? Because that's where this is heading. Even then, Young-soo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, My daughter is 7 years old. Back on Earth. I haven't seen her in 2 years. He pulled up a photo on his desk. A little girl with a bright smile. Every night I call home. She tells me about her day. About school. About her friends. About the small things that matter to children. She's beautiful, sir. If someone tried to take her from my wife, tried to put her in an institution, I would burn the world down to stop them. He looked at Jiwoo. So, I understand. I understand completely. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. I'm still going to have to arrest you. If you do something illegal. I know. That afternoon, Jiwoo met with her human team and the small group of alien allies. Here's the situation, she said. We have proof that the institutional care is harming the cubs. We have data showing coalition species are suffering without family bonds. We have allies willing to help, but we don't have a legal way to stop the collection. So we need an illegal way, Taeyang said. No, Hyun said firmly. What if we go public? Dae suggested. Show everyone what's happening. Make it a scandal. The coalition controls the media, one of the aliens said. Not all media, Bora said thoughtfully. There are independent channels, news services that operate outside official control. If we could get the story to them, with proof, they might run it. That's still not enough, Jiwoo said. We need to change the law, not just break it. Rixal spoke up. What if we could get someone from the Kiresh to speak against this? Someone with authority. Someone the coalition would have to listen to. Who would do that? Jiwoo asked. Kirnath and the others are completely committed to this system. Not all of them. I have been researching. There is an elder Kiresh named Sukja. She is very old. She remembers before the changes. Before they moved to institutional raising. Would she help us? I do not know. But she lives on the coalition station. We could try to contact her. Jiwoo thought about it. It was risky. But what choice did they have? All right. Let's try. But we need to move fast. I have maybe 4 days before Young-soo can't delay anymore. 4 days, Hyun said. That's not much time. Then we better get started. That night, Jiwoo held Nabi and told her a story. A story about a little butterfly who got lost but found her way home. Did the butterfly stay home? Nabi asked sleepily. Yes, forever and ever. Promise? Promise. Ji Woo hoped she could keep it. Because the alternative, losing Nabi to that cold facility, was something she couldn't let happen, even if it meant breaking every rule. Even if it meant sacrificing everything, Nabi was worth it. Finding Sukja was easier than Ji Woo expected. The old Kiresh lived in a quiet section of the Coalition station, in a small dwelling filled with old things. Things from before. You are the human with the cub, Sukja said when they met. Her voice was ancient and tired. I have heard about you. Yes, ma'am. This is Nabi. Nabi hid behind Ji Woo, clutching her belt nervously. Sukja studied the small cub with sad eyes. She clings to you like cubs used to cling to their mothers. Before we decided mothers were inefficient. Elder Sukja, we need your help, Ji Woo said. I am old. What help can I provide? You remember how things were. Before the changes, you can tell people the truth. Sukja laughed, but it was bitter. The truth? The truth is that my people chose efficiency over love. We chose progress over family. And we have been dying inside ever since. Then tell the coalition that. Please. The old Kiresh looked at Nabi, who was peeking out from behind Ji Woo. Come here, little one. Nabi hesitated, then slowly walked to Sukja. The elder reached out and gently touched the cub's face. When I was young, I had a mother who held me. A father who taught me. Siblings who played with me. We were a family. Tears filled her old eyes. Then, the reforms came. Family units were dissolved. Children went to facilities. We were told it was better. Progress. Evolution. But it wasn't, Ji Woo said softly. No. It destroyed us. Slowly. Quietly. We stopped knowing how to love. How to connect. How to care deeply for one another. We became efficient. And empty. Will you help us stop them from taking Nabi? From taking all the cubs? Sukja looked at Ji Woo for a long moment. Yes. I am old. They cannot punish me much. I will speak. I will tell them what we lost. 2 days later, the emergency session of the Coalition Council began. Ji Woo wasn't supposed to be there, but Bo-Ra managed to get her and Nabi into the observation gallery. Down on the main floor, Kirnath was presenting his case. Images of the facilities appeared on large screens. Clean rooms, organized schedules, efficient education programs. As you can see, the Kiresh Child Development Centers provide optimal care, Kirnath said. Far superior to the chaotic emotional environment of military camps. And the medical reports? One council member asked. Minor adjustment difficulties. Completely normal and manageable, with proper medication and routine. Medication, Admiral Youngsu said from his seat. He had been called to testify. You mean sedatives. To keep traumatized, children, docile. To help them adjust, Kirnath corrected. By drugging them into submission. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Nabi pressed closer to Ji Woo, frightened by all the loud voices. Then Sukya entered. The old Kiresh walked slowly to the speaking platform. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew who she was. Everyone respected her age, even if they disagreed with her views. I am Sukja. I am 347 years old. I remember before the reforms. I remember when we were still whole. Kirnath stood. With respect, Elder, the past is past. We must focus on Nos Passad. Sit down, child, Sukja said firmly. I am speaking. Kirnath sat. I remember, Sukja continued, when Kiresh cubs were raised by families, when we knew the warmth of a mother's embrace, when we understood what it meant to belong to someone who loved us not for efficiency, but simply because we existed. She pulled up data on the screens. Medical data. Real data. Not the sanitized reports. Look at these numbers. Look at what we have become. 73% of cubs in our facilities are suffering severe trauma. Our birth rates are at historic lows. Our suicide rates are at historic highs. We are dying, not quickly, but certainly. We have systems to address these issues, another council member said. Systems. Always systems. But never love. Never connection. Never the simple act of holding a frightened child and saying, "I will protect you." Sukja pointed at Jiwoo and Nabi in the gallery. That human has done more for one cub in 2 months than our facilities have done for hundreds in years. Why? Because she loves her. Because love is not inefficient. Love is essential. Love is a primitive emotion, Kirnath argued. Then call me primitive, call me backwards, but at least I remember what it meant to be alive. Rixal stood up in his section. I wish to speak. The council recognizes Representative Rixal. I am from the Vex Thar people. We, like the Kiresh, abandoned family structures 200 years ago. We thought it made us stronger. We were wrong. He displayed more data. My people are also declining. Not just in numbers. In spirit. In purpose. In hope. Another representative stood. Then another. One by one, representatives from different species began sharing similar stories. Similar data. Similar regrets. What are you suggesting? The council leader asked. That we abandoned centuries of social progress? Return to primitive family structures? I am suggesting, Sukja said, that we admit we made a mistake. That we lost something vital when we optimized away our capacity for deep connection, and that perhaps these humans, whom we consider primitive, have something to teach us. The debate lasted for hours. Jiwoo held Nabi close, whispering reassurances. Young Su testified about the human approach to family. Bo Ra presented research on attachment theory and child development. Sun Hee shared medical evidence comparing cubs raised with caregivers versus those in facilities. Finally, the council leader called for a vote. The proposal is to create an experimental program. Selected cubs from various species would be placed with trained caregivers, human and otherwise, rather than in institutional settings. This would be studied and evaluated over a 5-year period. The voting began. Jiwoo couldn't breathe. Everything depended on this. The results came in. By a narrow margin, the proposal passed. Jiwoo felt tears streaming down her face. Nabi looked up at her, confused. Why are you crying? Because you get to stay. We get to stay together. Forever? Forever. The following weeks were chaotic, but hopeful. The first official adoption in coalition history was processed. Jiwoo became Nabi's legal guardian under the new experimental program. Other cubs were matched with caregivers, some human, some alien. Rixal adopted a young cub from his own species. Taeyang, surprisingly, applied to be a foster caregiver. What? The big man said when everyone stared at him. I like kids. And somebody's got to teach them how to be tough. Training programs were established. Human specialists in childcare and psychology began teaching coalition volunteers. It was slow. There were mistakes. But it was progress. 6 months later, Jiwoo stood on a balcony overlooking the base. Nabi was playing with other cubs nearby. Running and laughing. She still wore something attached to her belt. A small, stuffed toy that Jiwoo had made for her. The shadow had evolved. Velthar approached. The insectoid commander watched the playing cubs with what might have been curiosity. I am considering, he said slowly, applying for the caregiver program. Jiwoo tried not to show her surprise. Really? Observing you these months has been educational. I believed emotions were weakness. That attachment was illogical. But I see now that connection creates a different kind of strength. It does. Your species calls it love. Yes, we do not have a word for it in my language. We eliminated it generations ago. But perhaps we can create a new word. Perhaps we can learn again. To Teeple, Nabi ran over and grabbed Jiwoo's hand. Umma, come play with us. In a minute, butterfly. But Nabi pulled insistently. Jiwoo laughed and let herself be dragged toward the other children. Velthar watched them go. Then, very quietly, he said, "Perhaps this is evolution after all. Not away from emotions, but back toward them." Admiral Young Soo appeared beside him. "Commander, are you getting philosophical in your old age? Perhaps. Or perhaps I am simply seeing clearly for the first time." They watched as Jiwoo played with the cubs, all of them laughing and running together. Different species, different backgrounds, but all of them learning what it meant to be cared for, to be loved. "The galaxy is changing," Young-soo said. "Yes. Because one human refused to let go of one cub. Because one human remembered what really matters." Down in the play area, Nabi climbed onto Jiwoo's back for a ride. Her small hands gripped Jiwoo's shoulders, no longer needing to clutch the belt. She was secure now. Safe. She knew she was loved. "Tell me the butterfly story again," Nabi said. "Again? I've told it 100 times. Tell it 100 more." Jiwoo laughed. "All right. Once upon a time, there was a little butterfly who got lost in a big storm." As she told the story, other cubs gathered around to listen. And in the watching galleries, adult aliens observed with wonder. They were seeing something their species had forgotten. Something simple but profound. A mother and her child. A caregiver and those who needed care. Connection. Family. Love. It spread slowly across the coalition. The experimental program expanded. Birth rates began to rise. Mental health improved. Not overnight. Not everywhere. But it was beginning. All because a small cub had clutched a belt and refused to let go. All because a human soldier had clung back just as tightly, and neither one ever let go.